Warning. Entering restricted zone. Planet designation, Earth. Dominant species, human. Classification, carnivorous predators. Threat level, extreme. The pod's AI announced in its calm, emotionless voice. Ara's silvery blue skin glistened with sweat as she tried to stabilize the damaged craft. Everyone in the galaxy knew about Earth. The planet no diplomatic missions visited, whose inhabitants allegedly rose to dominance by systematically hunting and consuming every competing species on their world. Her distress beacon had been broadcasting for hours, but one by one, nearby civilized systems had sent the same response. Unable to assist. Earth sector too dangerous. Some allies, Ara muttered, wincing as a piece of the pod's outer shell tore away. The royal advisors had always told her that in crisis, the Luminary's many allies would come to her aid. Yet when actually faced with the prospect of approaching Earth, they'd abandoned her without hesitation. Fire engulfed the viewport as the pod descended faster. Ara closed her eyes, reciting the royal prayer of passage. If she was going to die, at least it would be quick, better than what awaited her back home. The impact came suddenly. Ara's head slammed against the padded headrest, then everything went black. She awoke to the sound of metal being pried apart. Blinking slowly, Ara realized the pod's door was being forced open from outside. Panic flooded her system as she remembered where she was. Humans, the carnivores, had found her. The door gave way with a screech, and sunlight poured into the cramped space. Ara pressed herself against the far wall, ignoring the sharp pain in her side, where a piece of broken equipment had cut through her royal flight suit. In the doorway stood a human male, shorter than she'd imagined humans would be, with kind eyes and an expression of concern rather than hunger. "Hey there," he said softly, holding his hands up to show they were empty. "You're hurt." Ara was shocked that her universal translator implant understood him perfectly. The human's voice was gentle, almost soothing. This had to be a trick. Everyone knew humans lured prey with false security. "Stay back," she managed to say, her voice weak. Blue blood, royal luminary blood, was seeping through her fingers as she clutched her wounded side. The human remained in place, crouching at the pod's entrance. "My name's Tay. Your ship crashed in my backyard. I'm not going to hurt you." Ara's vision blurred as she lost more blood. Her options were limited. Die here in the pod or take a chance with this human who, surprisingly, hadn't immediately tried to devour her. "I need medical help," she admitted reluctantly. Tay nodded, moving slowly so as not to startle her. "I can help with that. Can you walk?" Ara tried to stand but collapsed immediately. The human moved forward, carefully lifting her from the wreckage. She tensed, expecting to feel teeth sinking into her flesh at any moment, but instead felt only the gentle support of his arms. "My house is just up the hill," Tay explained as he carried her. "Nobody saw your ship come down except me. You're lucky. Another half-mile and you would have crashed into town." Ara looked up at the human's face, studying him. He seemed genuinely concerned. Either humans were master deceivers, or the galaxy's understanding of them was somehow flawed. "Why are you helping me?" she asked weakly. Tay glanced down at her with surprise. "You're hurt and alone on a strange planet. Why wouldn't I help you?" As they crested the hill, Ara saw a modest dwelling surrounded by plants in various stages of growth. Flowers bloomed in organized rows and vegetables grew in carefully tended beds. "You're a plant grower?" she asked, confused. "Carnivores shouldn't care about plants." "Botanist," Tay corrected with a small smile. "I study and grow plants. It's peaceful work." Inside his home, Tay gently placed her on a soft surface. A couch, he called it, and brought medical supplies. His movements were careful as he cleaned her wound, applying something he called antiseptic that stung terribly. "Oh, your blood is blue," he observed, not sounding particularly surprised. "Yours isn't?" Ara asked, genuinely curious despite her fear. Tay laughed softly. "No, ours is red. Look, I don't know what part of the galaxy you're from, but you're safe. Here I'm going to help you." As he worked to bandage her wound, Ara noticed a small device on a nearby table displaying images. It showed what appeared to be news, and there, unmistakably, was her own face. Even without understanding the human language, She recognized a death announcement when she saw one. "They're saying I'm dead," she whispered. Tay followed her gaze and nodded solemnly. "Your people are looking for you. Should I try to contact them?" Ara shook her head violently, wincing at the pain the sudden movement caused. "No, the ones in power now. They're the ones who tried to kill me. They'll finish the job if they find me." Understanding dawned on Tai's face. "You're running from your own people." "I'm the last of the royal family," Ara explained, her voice breaking. "There was a coup. Everyone else is dead." Tay was quiet for a moment. "Then you need to rest and recover before deciding your next move. You're welcome to stay here. Nobody will look for you on Earth, because everyone thinks humans will eat me," Ara said without thinking. To her surprise, Tay burst out laughing. "Is that what the galaxy thinks of us? That we eat visitors?" For the first time since her world had collapsed around her, Princess Ara felt a tiny spark of hope. Perhaps crashing on this forbidden planet wasn't the worst fate after all. "Please," she whispered as exhaustion overtook her. "Don't eat me." The last thing she heard before darkness claimed her was Tay's amused voice. "I promise. That's not on the menu." Sunlight filtered through unfamiliar curtains when Ara finally opened her eyes. For 3 days, she had drifted between consciousness and darkness, catching only glimpses of her surroundings, the wooden ceiling beams, a shelf of strange plants in colorful pots, and Tay's concerned face as he checked her wounds. This time, she was fully awake. The pain in her side had dulled to a manageable ache. Ara slowly pushed herself up on the soft bed, taking in the small, simply furnished room. Through an open window came sounds of birds singing and a gentle breeze carrying unfamiliar but pleasant scents. "You're up," said Tay, appearing in the doorway with a tray. "Hungry?" Ara hesitated. Food was a complicated matter. What did humans eat? What would they feed an alien guest they weren't planning to consume themselves? Seeing her nervousness, Tay set the tray down on a small table near the bed. "It's fruit, bread, and water. I wasn't sure what you can eat, but I figured plants are a safe bet for most species." The colorful arrangement looked nothing like the nutrient cubes she was accustomed to on diplomatic voyages. Cautiously, Ara picked up a red curved object. "Apple," Tay explained. "Bite into it." The sweetness that burst onto her tongue was unexpected and delightful. Ara's eyes widened. "This is incredible," she said between mouthfuls. Tay smiled, pulling up a chair. "While you were recovering, I've been trying to learn more about what's happening. The galactic networks, or what we can intercept of them, say you're dead." He handed her a tablet-like device. On it played a news broadcast, translated into simple text beneath the alien reporter. The images showed what appeared to be royal luminary remains being recovered from a crash site. Ara froze mid-bite when footage shifted to humans, portrayed as towering, sharp-toothed monsters, tearing into raw meat with captions claiming these were reenactments of her fate. "This is ridiculous," Ara whispered, setting down the apple. "They're saying I was eaten by humans." "Apparently we have quite a reputation out there," Tay said, taking back the tablet. "Carnivorous predators who rose to power by devouring our competitors." Despite everything, Ara found herself laughing, a hollow, exhausted sound. The great diplomatic fear. Every young royal is taught that Earth is the one planet we never approach. Stories say humans hunt any intelligent species they encounter. Tay raised an eyebrow. "And yet here you are, very much not eaten." Princess Ara clutched the control panel of her escape pod as it shook violently, entering Earth's atmosphere. The bright blue planet grew larger through the viewport, beautiful but terrifying. Just days ago, she had been attending a diplomatic ceremony on her homeworld. Now the Luminary Empire had fallen to General Tark's surprise military coup, and she was the only royal family member who had escaped alive. "Here I am," Ara agreed quietly. "Because no one else would help me." The room fell silent as the weight of her situation settled back onto her shoulders. She was alive, but her people thought her dead. General Tark's propaganda was already using her supposed fate to further isolate Earth from galactic affairs. "My cousin Hannah will be coming by today," Tay said after a while. She works in medicine. She helped me understand enough about your biology to treat your wounds, but she wants to check you herself. Ara tensed. Another human knows I'm here. Only Hana, Tay assured her. She's trustworthy, and she brought medical supplies specifically suited for your physiology. How would she know about luminary biology? Tay shrugged. Earth might be avoided by official diplomatic channels, but we're not completely cut off. Information finds ways through. Scientists here have studied what we can intercept from passing ships and signals. Before Ara could respond, there was a soft knock at the front door. Tay stood, patting her hand reassuringly. That'll be her, don't worry. Hana was shorter than Tay, with bright, intelligent eyes and a no-nonsense manner. She carried a small medical case and wore an expression of carefully contained excitement as she approached Ara. Amazing, she said, looking Ara over. A real luminary royal. The silver-blue skin tone is exactly as the text described. May I examine your wound? Ara nodded hesitantly. As Hana worked, her touch professional but gentle, she spoke in a low voice. Tay, there's something you should know. Government vehicles have been circling the area since yesterday. Someone detected the pod's signal when it crashed. Tay frowned. How much time do we have? I'm not sure. They're being careful, searching grid by grid, but they'll find it eventually. Ira felt a cold dread spreading through her chest. If your government finds me, they won't dissect you if that's what you're worried about, Hana interrupted, applying a fresh bandage. But they would certainly take you into custody, study you, and once they announce your presence, General Tark will know you're alive. And he'll come to finish what he started, Ara concluded grimly. That evening, after Hana left with promises to return with more supplies, Tai prepared a meal. Ara watched with fascination as he chopped vegetables, boiled water, and combined ingredients with practiced movements. You cook your own food, she observed. On my world, royals had automated systems for everything. I like working with my hands, Tay replied. Cooking, gardening, it's satisfying. As they ate the simple but flavorful meal, Ara realized something that had been bothering her since she arrived. You eat plants, she said, gesturing to their bowls, but the Galactic stories say humans are carnivores. We're omnivores, actually, Tay explained. We eat both plants and meat. I personally don't eat much meat, but many humans do. Ara considered this. So the stories aren't completely wrong. No, but they're greatly exaggerated. We don't hunt intelligent species. That's just absurd. Later, as darkness fell, they sat by a window overlooking Tay's garden. The night was clear, stars visible above the trees. Ara found one particularly bright light in the sky. That's my home system, she said softly. From here, it just looks like any other star. Do you miss it? Tay asked. I miss what it was supposed to be, Ara replied. A place of wisdom and peace, not what General Tark has turned it into. Tay was quiet for a moment. Why did you become their target? Why kill the royal family? Ara turned from the window, her expression grave. Because we had begun the process of opening diplomatic relations with Earth. The shock on Tay's face was evident. What? A secret initiative. General Tark and others believed it would weaken our position in the galaxy. They called it treason. Ara's voice hardened. They struck during the planning conference. I only escaped because my guard shoved me into an escape pod. Outside, a distant sound of engines broke the night's quiet. Tay moved quickly to the window, drawing the curtains closed. We need to be prepared to move, he said, his voice calm but serious. If they find the pod, this house will be next. Ara looked at him, this human who had saved her life and sheltered her when her own allies had abandoned her. Why are you risking so much for me? She asked. Tay smiled. Because it's the right thing to do. And because maybe, just maybe, you're the beginning of something important, a bridge between our worlds. In the distance, the sound of engines grew louder. Dawn broke with the sound of helicopters passing overhead. Ara stood at the window of Tay's basement, where they had relocated during the night. The small space had been hastily converted into a hiding place, with blankets covering the lone window and emergency supplies stacked in corners. They're expanding the search area, Tay said, coming down the stairs with 2 steaming cups. He handed one to Ara. But they haven't found your pod yet. My neighbor thinks they're doing military exercises. Hera sipped the warm drink, tea, Tay called it, and tried to calm her racing thoughts. How long can we hide like this? Not forever, Tay admitted, but I have a friend who might be able to help. Jin works in communications at the university. Research center. If anyone can help us broadcast a message to counter the propaganda Tark is spreading, it's him. A message? Ara straightened, setting down her cup. You mean, tell the galaxy I'm alive? Exactly. Tay sat beside her on the makeshift bed. Right now, General Tark is using your death to further isolate Earth and consolidate his power. But if people see you alive, protected by humans rather than eaten by them... Hope flickered in Ara's chest for the first time in days. It could undermine everything he's built his coup upon. That afternoon, Jin arrived, a tall, thin human with quick movements and sharp eyes that widened considerably at the sight of Ara. When Tay said he was hiding an alien princess, I thought he'd finally lost his mind, Jin said, shaking his head in amazement. But here you are, an actual luminary royal. Jin had brought equipment, compact but powerful, he assured them, as he set up cameras and communication devices. He explained his plan. The university has a deep space transmitter for research purposes. Officially, it's for studying distant stars. Unofficially, we've been monitoring galactic communications for years. We can piggyback on those signals to broadcast your message. Won't your government stop you? Ara asked. Jin grinned. By the time they realize what we're doing, the message will already be out. Besides, some people in our government would be very interested to learn that Earth has been misrepresented in galactic politics. The recording was simple, but powerful. Ara, dressed in her repaired royal attire, addressed the camera with all the dignity her royal upbringing had instilled in her. She explained the coup, her escape, and most importantly, the truth about humans. They have shown me nothing but kindness, she said, with Tay standing proudly beside her. The stories we have been told about Earth and its people are deliberate distortions. Humans are not the monsters we were led to believe. Jin worked his technical magic, and within hours their message was traveling across subspace channels, reaching dozens of star systems. They celebrated with a small meal, allowing themselves a moment of optimism. Now we wait, Jin said, monitoring the equipment for responses. If enough species receive this, Tark's narrative starts to crumble. The first responses came within hours, mostly confusion, disbelief, and accusations of human trickery. But gradually messages of support began appearing from unexpected sources. Several smaller races, those who had also feared Earth but had no love for General Tark's expansionist Demolices, expressed relief that the princess was alive. It's working, Ara whispered, watching the incoming messages. They're starting to question what they've been told. The breakthrough came when the underground resistance on Ara's homeworld picked up the broadcast. Secret messages of loyalty began filtering through along with crucial information. Tark was already preparing a fleet, using Ara's death as justification for an invasion of Earth. This was never about me, Ara realized, horror spreading across her face. Earth has resources that the Luminari military has coveted for generations. My diplomatic mission threatened their plans, and my death gave them the perfect excuse. How long do we have? Tay asked. Jin, studying the intercepted communications, looked grim. Based on these fleet movements, days, maybe a week. Tai's house became the center of a growing operation. Hana brought medical supplies and news from the hospital, where government officials were quietly preparing for an unspecified situation. Jin coordinated with his university colleagues, who began working on ways to detect approaching alien vessels. Friends of friends arrived, people Tay trusted, each bringing skills and resources. Your planet has no real defenses against a Luminari battle fleet, Ara told them during a strategy session in the basement. Your technology is advanced in some ways, but your ships aren't designed for space combat. Then we don't fight them. In space, said Day, a tactical officer from Earth's defense forces who had been quietly brought into their confidence. We let them come to us, where we have the advantage of knowing our terrain. Their planning was interrupted by a distant explosion that shook the house. Everyone rushed upstairs to see a column of smoke rising from the direction of the woods, where Ara's pod had crashed. They found it, Tay said, his voice tight. Moments later, Jin's equipment detected a transmission, a luminary code that Ara recognized immediately. "It's a scout ship," she said, translating the message. "They're telling the fleet they've confirmed my landing site. But they don't know you're alive," Hana pointed out. The hope in her voice died when 3 black aircraft appeared over the trees, heading directly for Ty's house. "They traced our broadcast," Jin realized too late. "They know exactly where we are." What happened next was chaos. The human military arrived first, apparently already tracking the alien scout ship, just as the luminary craft descended. In the confusion of shouted orders, weapons being drawn and Tay trying to explain the situation to Earth officials, no one noticed the small tactical team that slipped in from behind the house. The flashbang device temporarily blinded everyone. When Tai's vision cleared, he saw Ara being dragged toward the luminary ship by soldiers in battle armor. "Tay!" she screamed, fighting against her captors. He lunged forward, but was restrained by Earth soldiers, who still didn't understand what was happening. The last he saw of Ara was her frightened face, as the scout ship's door sealed shut, and the craft shot upward with impossible speed. Hours later, Tay sat in a military debriefing room, explaining everything to increasingly higher-ranking officials. Jin had been brought in as well, his communications expertise proving valuable as they attempted to track the luminary ship. "So let me understand this," said the grey-haired woman, who had introduced herself only as Director Park. "An alien princess crashed on Earth. You hid her, helped her broadcast a message to space, and now her enemies have kidnapped her and are planning to invade our planet." "That's accurate," Tay said, his voice hoarse, "and we don't have much time." "Director?" Park studied him for a long moment, before nodding to an aide, who opened a laptop showing satellite imagery. "We tracked the alien vessel until it rendezvoused with a larger ship at the edge of our solar system. Our deep space telescopes show at least 7 large vessels gathering there." Tay felt the blood drain from his face. "That's not an invasion fleet yet. That's just the advance force." "Then we need to act quickly," Director Park said, standing. "Mr. Tay, your actions may have been unauthorized, but they've given us invaluable intelligence. Now I'm officially bringing you into this operation. We need everything you know about these luminari, and especially about Princess Ara. What are you planning?" Tay asked. For the first time, Director Park smiled, a sharp expression that reminded Tay of a predator. "They took someone under our protection. We're going to show them why the galaxy was right to fear us just for the wrong reasons." She turned to the room of military personnel. "Prepare a rescue mission. It's time to show the galaxy that humans protect their friends, no matter what." Tay stared at the sleek black uniform they'd given him, something designed for the Special Forces team he was now unexpectedly part of. Around him, Earth's hastily assembled response center buzzed with activity. Screens displayed satellite images of the edge of the solar system, where luminary ships gathered, growing in number by the hour. "It still doesn't make sense," he said to Commander Sun, the compact, stern-faced woman leading the rescue operation. "Our technology isn't advanced. It's enough to reach them before they reach us." Commander Sun's expression remained neutral as she checked her tactical display. "We've had more capabilities than the public knows about for some time. Your friend's abduction just accelerated certain revelations." She led Tay through a secure door and into an enormous underground hangar. There, gleaming under bright lights, stood a ship unlike anything he'd ever seen. Sleek, predatory lines, clearly built for space but with technology that looked decades beyond what he thought possible. "We've been reverse engineering crashed alien tech for generations," Commander Sun explained, watching his shocked expression with slight amusement. "This is the first fully functional combat vessel we've completed. It was supposed to remain classified for another 5 years. And now you're going to use it to rescue Ara," Tay breathed. "To rescue the princess, yes," Commander Sun corrected, "and to send a message that taking someone under Earth's protection has consequences." The following day brought frantic preparation. Jin worked with military communications experts to intercept and decode luminary transmissions. They learned that Ara was being held aboard General Tark's command vessel, paraded before communication screens to Allied systems as proof of her rescue from the savage humans. But the transmissions were heavily edited, never allowing Ara to speak freely. "They're controlling the narrative again," Jin said grimly. "But there's something else. Look at the responses they're getting." He showed Tay and Commander Sun the intercepted replies from various alien governments. Many expressed suspicion, rather than relief. Ara's earlier broadcast had planted seeds of doubt that Tark couldn't fully eradicate. "Several species are questioning the Luminari version of events," Jin explained. "Particularly the Dal, the Gam, and the Rim peoples. They're smaller powers, but strategically located." Commander Sun nodded thoughtfully. "We need to exploit that uncertainty. If we're going up against a full Luminari fleet, we could use allies." That's when Tai had his idea, a psychological operation that played directly into the galaxy's misconceptions. "About humans. You said they fear us as carnivores, right?" he asked. "Then let's use that fear." The plan took shape quickly. Earth's military leaders recorded footage of themselves calmly eating rare steaks while discussing peace terms. These recordings were interspersed with training footage, showing human special forces performing feats of strength and endurance. The message was clear. Humans preferred diplomatic solutions, but were physically capable of extreme measures if provoked. "This is crazy," Jin said as he prepared to broadcast the package to the hesitant alien governments. "But it just might work." It did, better than they'd anticipated. Within hours, representatives from the Dal, Gam, and Rim requested secure communications with Earth. These species, it turned out, had their own reasons to fear Luminari expansion. Ara's broadcast and her subsequent abduction had given them a reason to finally question the anti-human propaganda they'd been fed for generations. "We have ships," said the Dal ambassador, a tall, willowy being with iridescent skin. "Not many, but they are fast and well-shielded. We offer them in alliance." The Gam and Rim followed with similar pledges. By the end of Earth's Day, what had seemed an impossible rescue mission had evolved into a small but determined coalition. "Now we just need information from inside Tark's fleet," Commander Sun said during their final briefing. "We need to know where they're keeping Princess Ara and what defenses surround her." As if on cue, Jin burst into the room, his face flushed with excitement. "We captured a Luminari pilot. One of their scout ships malfunctioned and crashed in the Pacific. The pilot survived. The captured pilot, a young officer named Jun, turned out to be an unexpected ally. Unlike the hardened warriors loyal to General Tark, Jun was part of a younger generation that had secretly supported the royal family's diplomatic initiatives. Many of us joined the military hoping to see the stars, not conquer them," Jun explained after being assured he wouldn't be eaten. "When General Tark seized power, we had no choice but to follow orders or be executed as traitors." Jun provided crucial intelligence, security protocols, ship layouts, and most importantly, confirmation that Princess Ara was being held in the command vessel's diplomatic quarters rather than the brig, making their rescue mission more feasible. "There's an underground network among the younger officers," Jun revealed. "If you can create enough confusion, some might help from within." As the rescue fleet prepared to depart, Tay found himself on the bridge of Earth's secret vessel, renamed Defender for the mission. Commander Sun had insisted he join them, arguing that Ara would respond better to a familiar face. "We launch in 20 minutes, Commander Sun announced. "All Allied ships have acknowledged the plan." Tay stared at the tactical display showing their small fleet, 1 advanced Earth vessel and 7 ships from their new alien allies, against the gathering Luminari armada of over 30 warships. "They still outnumber us," he said quietly. "But they don't outthink us," Commander Sun replied. "You know what humans are really good at, beyond all the carnivore nonsense? Adaptation. We're about to show the galaxy why that's more frightening than any appetite for meat." As the fleet lifted off, broadcasting from Earth showed the launch to the entire planet. For the first time, humans worldwide learned they weren't alone in the universe, and that their first interstellar conflict was beginning because they had chosen to help a refugee princess when no one else would. In orbit, Tay looked back at the blue planet growing smaller below them. Earth had always been isolated, feared, avoided, and now its people were risking everything to save someone who wasn't even human. "They don't fear us because we eat meat," he realized aloud. They fear us because we never give up on what we believe in. Commander Sun heard him and nodded approvingly. Exactly, and right now we believe in rescuing our friend. The stars beckoned as the fleet accelerated toward the edge of the solar system where the Luminari waited. Unknown to General Tark, his carefully constructed propaganda was about to meet the reality of humanity's true nature. Not as mindless predators, but as fiercely loyal protectors willing to fight against overwhelming odds for those they considered under their care. As they approached light speed, Tay whispered a promise to the stars ahead. "We're coming for you, Ara. Hold on." The vast emptiness of space erupted into chaos as Earth's small fleet emerged from jump point directly behind the Luminari Armada. On the bridge of the Defender, Tay gripped his console as tactical alarms blared. Commander Sun remained unnervingly calm, issuing rapid orders that sent their vessel into a spinning dive between two massive Luminari cruisers before either could bring their weapons to bear. "They didn't expect us to attack from the rear," Commander Sun said, a hint of satisfaction in her voice. "Their formation is designed to advance on Earth, not defend against us." The view screen showed their allied ships, the sleek Dal vessels, boxy but powerful GAM cruisers, and the swift Rim interceptors, executing maneuvers that scattered the Luminari formation. What Earth's coalition lacked in numbers, they made up for in surprise and audacity. "Luminari warships are turning to engage," reported the tactical officer. "They're struggling to reorient their formation." Commander Sun nodded. "Execute Phase 2. All ships, commence the Hornet Protocol." Tay watched in amazement as Earth's fleet initiated the strategy they'd developed during the journey, named after the small but deadly insects that could take down much larger creatures through coordinated attacks. The Allied vessels broke into pairs, deliberately targeting the engines and communication arrays of Luminari ships rather than attempting to destroy them outright. "We're not trying to defeat their fleet," Commander Sun had explained during planning. "We're creating a diversion while our insertion team boards the command vessel to extract the princess." Now that plan was unfolding in real time. As the battle intensified, a small, stealthy craft detached from the Defender's underside. Inside were 6 human Special Forces operatives, Tay, and their Luminari defector Jun, to guide them through the command ship. "Stealth systems functioning at optimal levels," reported the pilot, a woman with a scar running down her cheek. "ETA to Tark's command vessel. 4 minutes. Tay checked his equipment one final time. The lightweight body armor, the non-lethal stun weapon he'd been hastily trained to use, and most importantly, the small communication device that would allow them to locate Ara once aboard. "Remember," Jun said quietly beside him, "many of the younger crew members may be sympathetic to our cause, but they cannot show it openly. If possible, avoid confrontation rather than forcing them to choose sides." Their craft approached the massive command vessel, using the chaos of battle as cover. The enormous ship was shaped like a crescent moon, its central section housing the bridge and, according to Jun, the diplomatic quarters where Ara was being held. "Docking clamps engaged," announced the pilot as they attached to an emergency maintenance hatch. "Cutting through, now." The insertion was textbook perfect. They entered through a rarely used access corridor, Jun quickly disabling the security, alerts with his officer codes. They moved silently through the ship's service tunnels, avoiding main corridors where troops would be rushing to battle stations. "2 levels up," Jun whispered, checking a ship schematic. "The diplomatic section has its own security protocols." As they ascended, Tay's communication device picked up a faint signal, the unique frequency of Ara's royal communicator that she'd shown him back on Earth. "She's alive," he breathed, showing the others the signal strength. "And she's moving." They followed the signal to a heavily guarded door. The team leader, a compact man named Quan, assessed the situation with a single glance. 4 guards, standard formation. "Jun, would these be Tark loyalists?" Jun nodded grimly. "Elite personal guards. They won't be sympathetic to our cause." Quan made a series of hand signals, and the team moved with practiced precision. Stun grenades disabled the guards before they could radio for help, and Jun quickly bypassed the door security. Inside, they found not a prison cell, but an opulent suite, and Ara, dressed in formal royal attire, staring at them in shock. Tay? She whispered, her voice breaking. How is this possible? There was no time for reunions. Alarms began blaring throughout the ship, whether from their intrusion or the battle outside, they couldn't tell. We need to move, Quan insisted. Our extraction window is closing. As they hurried Ara toward their escape route, she explained between rushed breaths, Tark has been parading me before Allied systems, forcing me to read statements claiming I was rescued from savage humans. But some aren't believing it. They've seen my original broadcast. Their path back to the maintenance shaft was cut off by the sudden appearance of Luminari troops. The team took cover behind a structural column as energy weapons fire erupted around them. There's another way, Jun said urgently, through the communication center. From there we can reach a different maintenance shaft. It was a desperate gamble, but they had no choice. Fighting their way through secondary corridors, they finally reached the massive communication center, a circular room with view screens showing the battle raging outside. By the stars, Ara gasped, seeing the displays. Your ships are actually holding their own against the fleet. Indeed, the human-led coalition was executing maneuvers the Luminari had never encountered, creating confusion in their rigidly disciplined ranks. Several Luminari vessels were spinning out of control, their engines disabled by precisely targeted strikes. The communication center was nearly deserted. Most personnel had been called to battle stations, but a lone technician remained, eyes wide with shock at their entrance. Princess? The young Luminari technician said, recognition dawning on his face. He's part of the underground network, Jun said quickly. Dag, we need to reach the secondary maintenance shaft. The technician, Dag, immediately moved to help, but then froze, as the main doors slid open to reveal General Tark himself, flanked by heavily armed guards. I should have expected this, Tark said, his voice cold as space itself. Humans so predictably sentimental, risking everything for one alien life. Tay stepped forward, placing himself between Tark and Ara. That's what you never understood. General, it's not sentiment, it's principle. Tark laughed, a harsh sound devoid of humor. Principles? From carnivores? Your species devoured its way to dominance. That's a lie, Ara said, her royal authority evident in her voice despite their desperate situation. Their lie you spread to keep Earth isolated, because you feared what would happen if humans joined the galactic community. Tark's guards raised their weapons, but before they could fire, the technician Dag made a decision. He slammed his hand on the control panel, activating every communication channel simultaneously. System override, Royal Protocol, he shouted. Galaxy-wide broadcast engaged. Suddenly, Ara's face appeared on every screen in the room, and on thousands of ships and planets throughout nearby systems. The entire confrontation was now being transmitted live to the galaxy. Ara recognized the opportunity instantly. She stepped forward, her regal bearing unmistakable. This is Princess Ara of the Luminari Empire. I am alive not by General Tark's rescue, but despite his coup. These humans, she gestured to the Earth team, have crossed the stars to save me when the galaxy abandoned me to die. The guards looked uncertain, glancing at each other, and at the screens showing their standoff being broadcast everywhere. Shoot them, Tark ordered, but his guards hesitated. The galaxy was watching. Ara continued, her voice growing stronger. Earth has been maligned for generations, portrayed as a planet of mindless predators. The truth is they fight not from bloodlust, but to protect those in need, even those not of their kind. The ship shuddered as another impact rocked the vessel. On the tactical displays, the battle outside was clearly turning against the Luminari. Fleet as more ships broke formation, unsure what to believe. Surrender now, Ara commanded Tark, or face the full determination of my carnivorous allies. The moment hung in the balance, until one of Tark's own guards lowered his weapon and stepped away. Others followed, the live broadcast giving them the courage to finally defy the general. Abandoned by his troops and exposed before the galaxy, Tark's authority crumbled. Within minutes, loyal officers arrived to take him into custody, many having secretly opposed him from the beginning. The fleet is standing down, Commander Sun's voice came through Quan's communicator. Multiple Luminari vessels are requesting ceasefire. What's happening over there? The princess, Tay replied, watching as Ara confidently issued orders to officers, now pledging their loyalty to her. Just ended a war with the truth. 3 months later, Tay stood in Earth's newly constructed Galactic Embassy as final preparations were made for the historic signing ceremony. Through the massive windows, he could see ships from dozens of alien species in orbit. Diplomatic vessels come to witness the first galactic concord held on Earth soil. "Nervous?" asked Jin, adjusting his formal attire. As Earth's new communications liaison, he would play a key role in the ceremony. "A little," Tay admitted. "I'm still a botanist, not a diplomat." Yet here he was, appointed by Earth's united governments as their representative in the new era of interstellar relations. His experience with Ara had made him the natural choice, the human who had seen beyond fear to forge the first true friendship between their worlds. The great doors opened, and Princess Ara, now officially Regent Ara until the Luminari could re-establish their constitutional monarchy, entered. Though dressed in the elaborate ceremonial robes of her position, her smile was the same one Tay had come to know in his simple home on Earth. "The delegates are ready," she said, including some who were quite reluctant to set foot on the Carnivore planet until recently. Together they walked to the ceremony hall where representatives from 23 species waited. At the center stood the document that would forever change Earth's place in the galaxy. A treaty establishing Earth as the Luminari's primary ally and opening diplomatic relations with all signatory powers. As Ara signed with a flourish, she looked up at the assembled delegates. "Today we correct generations of misunderstanding. We recognize not what a species consumes, but what they stand for." An alien diplomat, one who had been particularly fearful of humans, approached Tay after the ceremony. "To think we feared your kind simply for eating meat," he said, his translator conveying genuine wonder. "When all along it was your loyalty we should have respected." Tay smiled. "Perhaps what truly matters isn't what a species consumes," he replied, glancing at Ara across the room, "but what they're willing to protect." Outside the embassy, Earth cities glowed with celebration lights visible from orbit. Humans looked to the stars not with isolation, but with hope. Their first steps into a wider galaxy, taken not through conquest, but through compassion for a princess everyone else had abandoned. In the galactic database, Earth's classification was formally updated, still listing humans as omnivores, but with a new notation added: "Will bear teeth for friends, not food."